Senator from Georgia.
Mr. President, my oldest son graduated from Tulane University in New Orleans with a master's degree in economics. He wrote a paper for his master's thesis called The Dutch Disease. I had never heard of the Dutch disease, but being my son, I read the thesis because I thought it would be important. You know what the Dutch disease is about? The Dutch disease is about a country that has an infinite supply of wealth, i.e. resources, but doesn't ever use that money to reinvest in its people. Instead, they just buy what they need. And it was about the Middle East. And if you look at the Middle East, every country over there that has a tremendous supply of oil and petroleum, what do? They buy their doctors and bring them over. They don't build universities. They don't make investments in themselves. They give money to their people. And the country's people suffer from the Dutch disease because the money is not reinvested to expand the wealth of the country. Well, there's another disease, and this is not a technical term, it's my term, called the dumb disease. And the dumb disease is when you don't have a natural resource and have the opportunity to get some of it, that you turn it away for reasons that don't make any sense. Now, I have tremendous respect for the gentleman from Rhode Island and the distinguished lady from California. In fact, I traveled with the distinguished lady from California to go to Disco Bay in Greenland to listen to Dr. Alley talk about climate change and climatology. And while I completely realize that carbon is something we need to reduce in the atmosphere, I don't completely buy into the fact that it's the end-all, be-all destructor of the environment. I think it's good politics for every one of us to reduce carbon every time we can, but not by stopping progressing, not by stopping jobs, and not by developing. And on the KeystoneXL pipeline, let's be realistic. You're going to have 500,000 barrels, up to 500,000 barrels of oil a day, traveling from the tar sands in Canada to Houston, Texas, and the south of the United States to be refined, and it's not going to generate one single isotope of carbon because it's going to be underground. It's not going to be burned. It's not going to be carried in a tanker truck that's going to be burning diesel to get it there. So you have less generation of carbon by building the pipeline than you would have if it's sent otherwise. Now, secondly, as another alternative, that oil is going to go somewhere. If we don't allow the Trans-Canadian construction, Trans-American, Trans-Canada pipeline to be built in the Keystone by the Keystone people in the United States, they're going to build a pipeline to Vancouver, and they're going to ship on ships the oil and from the tar sands to China. In other words, it's going to get somewhere where there are not good standards, and more carbon is going to go in the atmosphere, because just because you burn it in America doesn't mean that that's not going to get to China, and vice versa. Now, we have estimates from people of expertise that this will generate 42,000 jobs. That's a lot of jobs, and I think that's important. That's number one. Number two, it will give us a diversified supply of petroleum in the United States and help continue the United States on the task of being an energy-independent country. The most important thing we can possibly be for our national security. The only reason the Russians went into the Ukraine and Crimea is very simply they held the gasoline and the petroleum to hold those countries hostage, and there wasn't a supply from another source to take it. Every time we improve our access to petroleum, every time we improve our access to energy, we're improving our national defense and our national security of our country, and we maintain ourselves as a superpower, not just by name, but by an economic force as well. So I'm all for reducing carbon isotopes in the atmosphere. And I think running that pipeline does exactly that, because it moves the petroleum without burning it. So you have the cost of transporting it does not put it in there. And I'm for jobs. I'm for 42,000 jobs in America anytime we can get them. And I'm for expanding our access. Sure, some of the petroleum that's refined will be sold in the world markets, but it'll be refined in the United States. And if we had a shortage from somewhere else, we could help make up our shortage here, or we could take that money and help it raise the supply and reduce the price of petroleum in the world marketplace. The KeystoneXL pipeline just makes good sense. Let's not do something dumb and reject an asset our country has sitting there. We'd be sitting on a ham sandwich starving to death. Looking at our food and not eating it would be crazy, and we have the access to do it. The State Department on 5 separate occasions has approved it. We've tried for 6 years to get this vote. But regardless of how we're getting it, I hope we get it, and I hope we get all 60 or more votes here. And I hope the President will rethink his position on vetoing the bill, because the American people are for it, the petroleum industry is for it, the automobile industry is for it. It generates revenue for the United States of America. It generates jobs for the United States of America. It diversifies our supply of energy, and it makes us more energy independent than we would otherwise be. So just as the Dutch disease afflicts countries who don't take advantage of an asset that they have in terms of the wealth of natural resources, the dumb disease is when you have an access to natural resources and you pass them up because of reasons that are political and not practical. So I'm going to cast my vote in favor of the KeystoneXL pipeline. I'm going to cast my vote for jobs in America. for common sense, and for not succumbing to the dumb disease in the United States of America, and instead investing in our petroleum and our ability to refine it and our ability to use it. And I yield back the balance of my time.